So nothing pisses me off more than the mass spread of misinformation. So here are the 3 biggest lies in the hair care industry right now, and be sure to stick around to the end because I saved the spiciest lie for last. First lie, brands that try to market their product as natural or organic by saying that their ingredients are naturally derived or plant derived, which is not organic and is actually not even close. In fact, naturally derived doesn't really mean a whole lot. Basically, all it really means is that part of an ingredient that you use to mix it with chemicals and modify it into its final form was obtained from the earth, right? So it was either squeezed or distilled or extracted from a plant and then through chemistry mixed together created its final form. Since the amount of useful cleansing ingredients that can be obtained through like natural, truly natural organic means are quite limited, then chemistry is used to modify those natural ingredients to create entirely new molecular structures that allow for an increased performance. So in other words, to simplify this, it's like taking a plastic water bottle and saying, oh yeah, this, naturally derived. Yeah, you just take some fossil fuels, send it to a refinery, separate the liquid from the gas, throw in some polymerization and mix it together and boom, naturally derived plastic, super organic stuff. So a common ingredient that you'll see brands like kind of market is derived from coconuts, right? Is COCAMIDOPROPYL betaine. You'll see on most labels, brands will say naturally derived or plant derived ingredient. And this is a surfactant. It helps with foaming and cleansing your hair. But basically you take the fatty acid from a coconut and naturally derived, and then you mix it with an ingredient called DMAPA, or the longer term is dimethylaminopropylamine, and then bingo, bango, bongo, chemistry reaction, boom, boom, boom. Then you get super effective surfactant from something naturally derived. By the way, I'm not saying it's bad to use COCAMIDOPROPYL betaine. I'm just saying that this natural, organic narrative has taken over so much that brands need to borderline lie with their wordplay to sound more organic when it's really not organic, and that's okay. You don't have to mince your words to try and make your brand sound better. The next one is DMDM Hydantoin equaling cancer. Okay, what the heck is DMDM Hydantoin? So there are several class action lawsuits happening with Tresemme and OGX because there have been cases of hair loss and scalp burns from using shampoo with the ingredient DMDM Hydantoin. Now at first glance, this sounds really horrible and I would not wish that upon anyone. Then I started seeing claims that these shampoos that use DMDM Hydantoin are full of formaldehyde, and formaldehyde is a known carcinogen, and all of a sudden we're jumping from your Tresemme shampoo giving you like scalp burns to your Tresemme shampoo will give you cancer and kill you. And this one I was a little more skeptical of. So I actually hired a professor with a PhD in chemistry to write an entire article in my Mannered Mains app, which you can download in the App Store or Google Play Store for free. But he wrote an article titled The Truth About DMDM Hydantoin. And you can see it in the premium version of the app, but I'm just gonna try and quickly summarize like the main talking points for you here, because the article is pretty long. You can go read it in the app if you want. But first off, what is DMDM Hydantoin? So it's a formaldehyde releasing chemical used in cosmetics for its ability to protect against bacteria and microorganisms. Before you freak out and say formaldehyde releasing, just listen to the explanation a little bit. So basically without this preservative, or without preservatives period, shampoos and conditioners, they don't last long. They grow bacteria and they go bad. It's important to note that formaldehyde is found naturally occurring pretty much everywhere, even in your food. The devil is in the dosage. So these incredible molecules can release just enough formaldehyde required at a specific moment in the product's lifetime to sort of fight off bacteria. And this small concentration means that the levels of formaldehyde present at any given time are really low, but sufficient enough to prevent microbial growth. So according to the American Cancer Society, the levels of formaldehyde typically found in the human body are about 0.03 parts per million. And the present limit for human formaldehyde exposure is around 0.75 parts per million over an average 8-hour workday. And this is sort of the limit for workers in the industrial environment, people exposed to higher amounts of formaldehyde daily. Now, regarding DMDM Hydantoin in personal care products, the tiny amount of formaldehyde released from a formaldehyde donor like DMDM Hydantoin when shampooing your hair is equivalent to the amount of formaldehyde naturally occurring in one medium-sized apple. Think about that. It's very, very small.
That's what she said.
Here's where I would recommend avoiding DMDM Hydantoin is if you have allergies, because DMDM Hydantoin is a known allergen and a pretty strong one. So this could be the cause for scalp irritation or an extreme case of hair loss that Tresemme is being sued over. But to go so far as to say, will your shampoo give you cancer? I'd never like to speak in absolutes, but it's unlikely. And here's 2 reasons why. The first one is that the amount of DMDM Hydantoin in your products are so minuscule that it's probably not nearly at a concentration that could lead to disease of any kind. And secondly, the washing process, which involves a lot of water, is going to further dilute the ingredient substantially. Now, one thing to note that I can't speak on is, the actual experiences of the people and if these lawsuits have merit. Another question is, if you're exposed to that tiny amount of formaldehyde or DMDM Hydantoin over, say, 30 years, is that bad? We don't know. So those are just some questions to play devil's advocate about, but overall, DMDM Hydantoin causing cancer, it just seems unlikely to me. And the next lie is that sulfates are terrible for your hair. And I actually have a confession. I used to be in this camp. I read a study a while ago that hair treated in a 5% solution of SLS caused twice as much protein loss than hair treated in just plain water. And I've since come to learn that that study was pretty flawed. So first off, it's a 5% pure SLS solution. It's not, they didn't test it with a shampoo with a sulfate mixed into the entire formula. So when you add surrounding ingredients, chemical behavior changes and how they interact with your hair changes. The strength changes. So if you have a high quality formula, your sulfate shouldn't be causing any damage at all. Now that doesn't mean sulfates are good for everyone because they're still a really strong surfactant, right? So if I were to compare it to, say, watching Avatar: The Last Airbender, SLS would probably be like the Fire Lord Ozai of surfactants, right? Like, it's powerful. Here are some people whom I would recommend avoid sulfates. Most people with curly hair. Curly hair typically needs gentler, more moisturizing shampoos. If you have a naturally dry scalp or dry hair, I would also recommend avoiding a sulfate. And then people who have sensitive scalps, I would recommend avoiding a sulfate because a sulfate, it has been shown to be an irritant and it can dry your hair out a little bit more if you suffer from dry scalp already. Now, if you have super greasy or oily hair, a sulfate could be amazing for you. And even people who have combination scalps, which is oily scalp, dry ends, using a clarifying shampoo, a sulfate shampoo on your scalp could be an amazing thing as well. If you're somebody who uses a lot of silicone-based products, then a sulfate clarifying wash can do you wonders once, every 3 to 4 weeks. So the claim that all sulfates are bad is false, and it's always in the nuance as with everything. So see you guys in the next one. Peace.